Hi, I'm Noah Kerlin, and I'm going to be explaining my lesson plan. So I basically, I kind of did a math type of lesson plan, and I did addition and subtraction, and it was more focusing towards first and second graders. So my my practicum was with fifth graders, so I kind of got like an idea of some certain things when I was there, and when I all kind of like put it together, I brainstormed and came up with a bunch of new stuff. So basically, my class objectives starts out as just understand basic addition and subtraction while working independently. And then connection to course goals. For first grade SOLs in Virginia, students will create and solve addition and subtraction problems using data and simple tables, picture graphs, and bar graphs. So I kind of looked that up, and when it comes to math and most subjects, the SOLs are obviously extremely important, and teachers you have to teach the students so they can pass at the end of the year. And so that's basically what the course goals are and how it relates to the class objectives. For the anticipatory set, I kind of came up with a motivational quote, and basically like my whole lesson plan is like towards a substitute teacher, and it's just I kind of went into a lot of detail, and so for the motivational quote, I came up with the only way to learn mathematics is to practice mathematics, and I basically said like write that up on the board, before you start doing the math class and everything, and explain that the best way to learn mathematics is practice, practice, and practice, and I wanted to come up with something simple but like meaningful, and I had to do simple because it's directed to first and second graders. So I kind of you can't be anything too complex or anything like that. For the introduction, I wrote down inform the students that they need to master this material for the SOLs at the end of the year. In addition, explain to them that addition and subtraction will carry over into second, third grade, and fourth grade, and so on. And the students must be able to complete each problem by themselves as quickly as possible and ask questions if they need help. And so basically with my procedures, step one, I wrote down like on the chalkboard in front of the class, make tally marks counting forward and erase tally marks when subtracting. So, for addition, you make tally marks going forward and then you erase it, as you're subtracting. Just kind of simple, like easy way for them to understand. And then I wrote down like practice counting from 2 to 18 in random order. And then I did step 2, use colored objects I set out, like blocks, and ask the students how many blocks do we need to get to 8? How many blocks do we need to get to 7? And practice multiple numbers while increasing the difficulty each time. And, I know from my practicum that using, even with fifth graders, we would even use objects and, little, like for instance, like when we were doing fractions and stuff like that, I remember the teacher writing down like squares and shapes and stuff like that to kind of make it easier for them to understand. So, for instance, like actual objects like blocks and stuff like that is perfect for it. And then step 3, give each child a small whiteboard and marker and write practice problems one at a time. When they have the answer, tell them to raise their whiteboard and check their work. And this is kind of something that I kind of picked up from my practicum that I really thought was a great idea. And it was the students were basically they would all have the small dry erase boards and markers, and after the teacher would explain everything, she would split them up into groups, and she would take half the class and I would take half the class, and I would write down on the whiteboard, this is I write down like the problem, and they would go ahead and do it, write it up, and hold it up, and I would check their work, and that actually worked out really well because they were still doing it independently, but it was also in groups. So I really like that idea, and that's something I definitely would consider, and that's why I kind of put it in the lesson plan. Practice. I also wrote down like practice problems, for addition, 7 plus 2, 9 plus 5, 11 plus 8, subtraction, 18 minus 3, 14 minus 7. So I kind of like wrote down, practice problems for the substitute teacher so she could, she would have it right then and there. And for step 4, I wrote down read the simple math problems and have them solve for the answer on the whiteboard. So I wrote down like John has 3 apples and David has 5 apples. How many apples do they have together? Another one, Amanda picks 15 strawberries, but she gives 9 away to her family. How many strawberries does Amanda have now? So I thought that was definitely a good, a little bit more complex because, it's a word problem, but still the same idea. Then conclusion, I wrote down like ask the students if they learn how to add and subtract numbers and if they're having trouble, kind of go back over it and see, you should obviously be able to tell if it worked. And then, if it didn't, keep going and, go back, over each step and explain it a little bit, further in detail. For the reflection, if there's one thing that in this lesson plan that I think that, might not work, has a possibility of not working, would be the whiteboards, just because it's, first and second graders. So, if I wrote down, if the students are having trouble with the dry erase boards, then I will assign them to use paper and pencil for the future. But, so yeah, that's basically it. But, yeah, I hope you liked it.